Hi there, and welcome to FMCG by Alex. My name is Alex, and today I would like to talk to you about this initial phase where you just start out with your brand and you are looking to get your distribution up and running, the hustle phase. Assuming you start up from absolute zero, you start with online availability. It's the easiest, it's the fastest, and there is no shelf space online, so there's no limitation. Our shelf space is unlimited, so there is shelf space, but it's unlimited. Meaning you can sell things from your own website, you can sell things from Amazon, you can sell things from whatever e-commerce platform is dominant in your country. Indonesia has a couple of others basically, and Middle East has various large players. There are, for every country there is another dominant player. Amazon is probably worldwide one of the largest ones. So starting there, you work with maybe a reseller who has an account on these places where they are having their own shop in shop concept. Basically, you can easily scale your product online initially by linking all of your marketing content, your content marketing to drive traffic to these ready to buy customers, so these direct call to action. And later on, when you are going into retail, the issue is that you might come across people who are in the area, happen to be in the area, and can't find it in their own home area, but they still would like to buy your product. Then online availability is at least a guarantee that everybody anywhere can order it, because the shipping can go national. The first store, when you are ready to go into stores after that, so I would really advise you to start with online, then offline. The first store is the hardest to get. To convince someone without any other, any other presence in retail, you need to say, it's difficult. So it's nothing to reference. Or this is actually suitable for stores. How do you present it? Is the packaging suitable? All these things. You have to have these legal requirements for selling in retail, of course. And in essence, your online sales are the reference for the store. So you see a lot of cosmetics companies that start online. So they sell online directly through all these influencers. They have the product some traction has the product has some traction online, and then it becomes so big online that also offline it becomes quite an interesting product to add to offline retail. That is ideally the way you go about it. Under normal circumstances, it's a matter of like just asking someone nice for a favor. So can I, because I need your store. So that's the way I went about it. So I'm just starting out with my brand. Would you mind helping me? And people are very inclined to help you if you ask for it. If you don't ask for it, nobody will help you because they don't know that you need help. So don't come across all cocky and I know it all and I'm going to be successful and all these things. Be a bit humble, and people are quite eager to help you. So of course, you have people say, okay, sorry, I don't have time for this. This is a business and I don't believe in the product. You will always have that. So do mentally prepare yourself for a lot of no's. But there are always nice people who are willing to give a new brand or a young entrepreneur, or whatever age you are, but an entrepreneur that you are, whatever age you are, you give them a chance. So that is the thing you need to utilize in order to get your first store. So as soon as you get your first store, you have that as a reference. I'm already sold in that store. Even though it's a big favor, maybe from a friend, you can reference it. So that store is equal to another store. So if it's a supermarket, it is likely that other supermarkets would have similar results. Depends a bit on the demographic, of course, but that is the way you reference these stores to each other, and then you are growing from maybe one store to two, from two to four, from four to eight, etc. Normally the first person who will help you will also reference you. Hey, you should go there, you should go there, you should go there. I know my cousin also has a store, my brother has a store, my sister has a store. So all these things are linked to someone helping you from their network. You have to ask for it. You have to sometimes they solicit it, but you have to ask for it. Otherwise people just simply don't think about it. They They would like to help you, but they don't think about it. So starting from zero would be like that. And in the end, you shouldn't be scared to meet people. Just to say, okay, I'm going into a store with my product under my arm and say, can I, offer this to you? Would you like to sell this? This is, then you rattle off the story that you are selling online, that all the benefits of the product, the story behind the product, the emotional benefits of the product. So, how is it going to bring maybe more people to the store? Maybe some local reference, local relevance also to your brand. All these things can play a part in convincing the first store to get it, and consecutive stores as well. Now, then reducing perceived risk. So you can do that with sell or return. So normally you would like to sell, and then here you go, I get paid. You have product, I get payment. Under normal circumstances in FMCG, that doesn't work like that. So if you look at retailers, they would like to share the risk, or push as much of the risk to the manufacturer as possible. So you will have to supply on sale or return. Now, what does that mean? So I sell to you, I get paid, but anything that is left over in the retailer, so expired or broken or simply unsold when they are looking at returning it at some point, usually it's linked to an expiry date of the product. So if it's food, of course, it has an expiry date that is maybe reasonably short. It can be a year or less, basically. Then you need to have sale or return, so you can return it if it's not sold. Now, another variant of that is consignment. Consignment is, it's a bit more, problematic, I think, for both sides, because there's a lot of administration involved. But it comes down to, I put this into your store. Until it's sold, it is mine, but we only pay for what's sold. So 100% it is returned to me. So this is one of the things that you shift a little bit the payment terms, because consignment is something that doesn't require the store to pay you for anything that is in the store. So they only pay at the end of the month for what is sold from what is in the store. So if you sell on sale or return, everything that you sell into the store, so everything that you put in the store, is paid initially, and afterwards they look whether something is left over. It comes down to the same thing. It's just that the cash flow is a little bit different for various companies. So for starting brands, normally this consignment can be a solution where if you say, okay, it's really to get over the edge and push the retailer to stock it, even like reduce the perceived risk, basically. But in my opinion, a sell or return comes down to the same thing, and administratively, it's so much easier, because um, as soon as you come into the store, let's say, assuming you are a very small operation, you yourself maybe go to the store and you merchandise the product and you put it and you say, okay, hey, 10 are sold, I've got 20 left, I put 10 new ones. That is an administrative problem, because you need to have proof, someone needs to check it, someone needs to agree to that. Usually when that sort of thing comes along, there's a lot of risk for the retailer that the supplier is not honest. And of course, for the supplier, the risk is that anything that's stolen from the store, so meaning people just pickpocketing it, so to speak, and taking it home. You supplied 10. There are 9 left, but I only scan. I don't scan any. So I mean, meaning one is sold to shrinkage. That's usually the risk of the supplier. So in that sense, it's probably slightly more advantageous for the retailer to have consignment terms. But on the other hand, there's a lot of administration involved, and they don't have a problem. If they have a problem with putting it on their on their system. So in the end, it's normally modern supermarkets, they are much more driven by systematic replenishment. So meaning there are 10 on the shelf, 5 are sold in a day, then there is a signal from the computer in the store to the computer in the central warehouse of the retail chain saying, hey, five are sold, we need to replenish five. So tomorrow morning you need to deliver five to this store because the minimum stock in the store should be 10 or 8 or whatever. So in the end, this is one of the things that doesn't fit into, like individual suppliers going into stores, that this replenishment system doesn't accommodate for any consignment terms or individual suppliers going to merchandise it. So in the Netherlands, this is a big problem. There are, let's say, about 5,000 supermarkets in this country, where maybe about 1,500 to 2,000 are franchise supermarkets, meaning these supermarkets are owned by someone who decided to put the brand of the supermarket on his building. So he is voluntarily joining the supermarket for various reasons. There's the formula that they are joining, but they are in essence independent companies. Now, independent companies, that is up to a certain point. So you have people who are really independent. They have their own building. They don't rent. They have bought. They actually own it. They could basically say to any retailer they are connected to tomorrow, hey, I'm going to go to someone else. I'm not going to put your name on my building anymore. There are also companies that have been helped by the retailer to finance it. They come from some sort of internal university for store owners. So there are like preparation classes for entrepreneurs. So these days, it's very very professional how they prepare supermarket owners. In the past, maybe it was more like a family business where father and son and mother or daughter basically would take over the business, but without any preparation other than I've worked in the store of my father. Nowadays, it's a good friend of mine, for example. His father used to own a supermarket, but he actually went around and worked in a number of different supermarkets, from the bottom. Basically, he worked himself up to store manager at some point, and when it was time for his father to retire, he actually would take over the store of his father, basically. So this is one of the things where he really had a lot of experience outside of that. Outside of that store. Now, the thing is that these, by law, they call it deconcentration law here in the Netherlands. So you have, in essence, like maybe between 3 and, let's say, 5% currently, supermarkets are allowed by law to buy outside of their own wholesaler, meaning the wholesaler is like, if it says Jumbo or Albert Heijn on the store, then they have to buy 95 to 97% of their stock in that particular formula, basically. So that particular wholesaler. If not, they will maybe be more or less fined by the wholesaler, by the wholesale distributor, for buying outside, because they will not get their bonuses, they will not get their rewards, they might be having problems with following certain targets, basically, which reward them. Now, there's all sorts of tricks also, of course, from the major wholesalers to ensure that these people are loyal, that they don't buy all their Coca-Cola outside of the the organization. Otherwise, you just don't get the benefits that you get from this organization. So that complicates. Sorry, it's a long story, but it complicates a little bit the problem. Yeah, if you are an outside supplier and you are going to offer your product, then there might only be a 3 to 5% of the total volume of the supermarket that they buy outside. So logically, supermarkets would like to buy things that have high margin, and of course are not supplied basically by their supermarket organization. So the supermarket organization already supplies Coca-Cola. It's silly to offer Coca-Cola, because even though you might be a little bit cheaper, it's inhibiting the bonus system that they get. So that's one of the things that you need to keep in mind when you're supplying also your own products. So is it locally relevant? In the end, it usually comes down to the supermarket owner or manager who is deciding about it. Hey, do I like this product? Do I like the guy who is offering it? Do I like the story behind it? Hey, let's give it a chance. But deeper, of course, does it bring more people to my store? So that is actually one of the things that is complicated in the Netherlands. If you look at a country like Indonesia, where I've also spent a lot of time, there's a lot of countries where the system is a little bit different. But independent supermarkets in Indonesia is just a matter of like pay the listing fee. There still is a category manager or a buyer who says yes or no to something based on is this an alarm, is this a good product or not. They will have, of course, that, but it's in essence you pay the listing fee. It's listed. So in essence, if you want to have a specific promotion place in the store, I pay to rent this floor display or this gondola basically to have products in the store, have additional display space. So this is a more a relationship where you have a little bit more. The back margin becomes more important. It is shifting, so there are several retail chains in Indonesia who are working in a similar way to Europe and also the US, where yes, there might be listing fees, but usually it's a matter of does this product have a chance to sell well in my store? Now, you see that those stores are doing better than the stores that are traditionally just listing anything that, theoretically listing anything that, as long as the supplier is paying for it. So this is a different sort of thought process on whether or not consumers are looking for this product. So there are very successful retailers in Indonesia, for example, Aeon, that is a Japanese chain by origin. They have really adopted that system where you say, okay, you can offer us the world of money, the world of listing fees, but if the product is not going to fly in this store, it doesn't matter. We just don't take it. So that is actually very successful for them. This is one of the most successful retail chains in Indonesia at the moment. Then we go to the practical realities. So you have to work on initial traction in the first outlet or outlets, so plural. In the end, this is do or die for your brand. If it doesn't work in these outlets, you don't have a story to go to additional outlets. Payment may also be stuck. So you have to imagine that even if you agree on firm sale, meaning, okay, you buy this, if the product is still, stock is still high, then payment might not be forthcoming. In some countries it's worse than others, but in the Netherlands you might not have that problem that much. But let's say Indonesia, it's definitely a common issue. It can be with distributors as well. So payment is stuck. Then using consignment as a way to kickstart availability, that is something that you probably come across more often than you would like to. Some people in the past said to me, consignment is a dirty word. No, that's not entirely true. Obviously, consignment has its merits. But like I said, the administration is incredibly difficult because you have to track several stock levels. Okay, I have actually stock levels that I pushed into the store. Then you have to have someone who is spending time to check what is sold. Then you have to invoice that separately and actually keep track on how much stock is still left in the store. This is actually something that is quite, a bit of a headache. Let me put it that way. So this is one of the things that I'm not a big fan of, but sometimes it's the only way that someone wants to do business with you. And in the end, it comes down to the power when you're small is that the retailers you need them, they don't need you. Yeah. So in the end, it's a matter of accepting that reality basically. So the practical reality will be that consignment might be the way to go. If you look at Indonesia, for example, is a law that small medium enterprise, or UMKM as they say in Indonesia, there is no listing fee. So the retailers are not allowed to charge a listing fee for UMKM. The issue there is that it sounds very good, but then automatically they say, oh, no listing fee, then it's consignment. So meaning there's no risk involved for the retailer. And usually they make it very difficult with all sorts of administrative things where you have to physically go to the store to pick up proof that so much is sold and then go back and then send another invoice that you have to bring yourself and all those things. So it's a bit like making it more difficult than it should be for suppliers. So there's a plus minus to it, but initially it's a very good way to make sure you get the distribution going. Then as soon as you're ready, you can work with distributors. So the first few stores, so the function of a distributor is basically that the first few stores you can do yourself. So meaning, okay, this is the neighborhood supermarket, some retail is close to your house, etc. But when you are small, you do everything. So you do maybe production. If you don't buy it from someone else, you have the production yourself. You need to do all the administration yourself. You need to do the sales yourself. You need to do the delivery yourself. You need to do the merchandising yourself. You need to do the promotion, and you need to eat and sleep as well. So that is one of the things that sometimes is forgotten by small medium enterprise, where uh, initially you start out, hey, it's good, and as soon as actually routine kicks in, meaning like, oh, I have to make this round, then you notice that being a single fighter is quite heavy to scale the business. So to scale the business, you need a distributor. Distributors have the advantage that they go to many stores, meaning coverage, depending on the size of the distributor, but can be a city, can be a province, can be a country. They might have multiple branches every city, depending on the distance between cities, obviously. But the point is that they have supermarkets and maybe traditional retailers that they are visiting. Their salespeople are visiting regularly. So these distributors are partly logistics companies, so they will warehouse the product and they will deliver it as soon as a sale is made. And rather than pure logistics companies, distributors have sales and distribution function. So salespeople, they have a sales team that visit the store. So these people actually have multiple brands on their portfolio. So as soon as you see that you are only selling one box of your product to a store, then you also need to deliver that one box of product. Now, a distributor might have one box of your product, one box of another product, two boxes of another product. They have so many principals that are working with them, so many manufacturers that actually supply this distributor to supply the market. Now they take a margin, so it's not free. This margin is anywhere between 5 and 15%. So 5% is very rare, but let's say depends a little bit on whether you, for example, subsidize also the salespeople. So salespeople usually are paid for by the distributor, but in some cases, distributors also ask you to contribute to that. Depending on your financial situation, you can say yes or no to that. But um, you know, for example, there's a distributor maybe that is currently mixing modern trade and traditional trade. So that is Indonesia as an example that says, oh, your product is only suitable for modern trade. Now, then the issue is that when he gives your product to the salesman, um, for the modern trade, the traditional trade stores that salesman is visiting, it's not efficient because he's not actually able to sell the product to the traditional trade stores, and the price might be too high for traditional trade. So this is one of the things that you will encounter, where maybe they will say, "Hey, I need an exclusive salesman for modern trade and only bringing your product." Now, the advantage of that is that they will only bring your product. There still is the logistics function that is combined. So this modern trade outlet might actually have multiple brands that they are buying from this distributor. Um, and distributor, of course, because they have maybe a truck driving a route, it's more efficient than you bringing one box. Now, there is a point where doing things yourself to a distributor is as soon as you have the idea that there is more potential, like you are running at maximum capacity and you don't have more time in a day, then you need to work with the distributor. Now, distributors normally work on uh, in certain channels, so they have either a specialist channel, so you have specific Horeca and food service distributors. You have distributors that are very focused on supermarkets, so modern trade, super mini, hyper super mini, and you have distributors that are very much focused on traditional trade. So you have combinations of people who do everything, obviously, but I mean there are a lot of distributors also that do online. So there's more like a fulfillment sort of thing where they are, basically more like the logistics function and then making sure all your products are listed properly online. So as soon as your online sales are, going up to a level where you say, "Oh, I don't have time anymore to sleep because I'm spending all my nights packing product to be shipped out in the morning." Yeah, that is also a moment where you have to look at a fulfillment partner, which is an e-commerce distributor or online distributor in this case. Um, so normally you assign them based on geography or channels or channels basically. So this can in essence mean that you have multiple distributors in one geographic area, which is divided by channel depending on the specialism. So it doesn't make sense to give a distributor anything that they don't cover. So you do all of the Netherlands, but your product might be very suitable for food service, but this distributor only goes to supermarkets. Now, yeah, then they are sitting on exclusivity for a channel that they are not servicing. So that is something that you need to think of before you sign any agreements to that effect. Distributors are fine with anything basically, but I mean you need to negotiate it properly. And like I said, it's a lot of things can be quite reasonable about it. So then without support you will not get results. So distributors can be quite passive, meaning like, okay, as soon as there is no benefit to these distributors carrying your product, meaning, okay, I've listed this product, but there is not much happening. So meaning there's no support from you to increase the sales, and it's not going by itself. There's no demand, no pull from the market. Yeah, then distributors will also be very passive and say, look, I rather spend my time on something that does move. Yeah, that I can actually scale very easily, and because in the end, a distributor is more like a third-party logistics company than it is a brand representative. There are very good distributors, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I've worked with some of the best in the world with where you say like, look, these people were, when you say we cut them open, they were bleeding our brand basically. No, it sounds a bit horrible when I say it like that, but I mean, you get my point. Um, that is actually more an exception than a rule. So if you look at people who've worked like say 25 or 30 or 40 years basically with one brand, yeah, of course there is generations you have been indoctrinated by that brand, and you are feeling like family. But um, the thing is that most of these products there is no emotional attachment to it by a distributor. So meaning if you don't support it, yeah, distributors will not care. It was just, okay, there's no order for this, then I'm not supplying, I'm not lifting a finger to actually move this product. So that's one of the things you need to keep in mind. So support meaning, you do promotions, you do maybe in some cases even you have to say, look, I'm supporting someone who is opening new outlets. Maybe you have to open new outlets yourself, and then the distributor is actually connecting as the logistics company. If you look at the Netherlands, definitely that is more the rule. In Indonesia you have more active sales and distribution companies, but the Netherlands wholesalers are mainly passive. Okay, we have a truck driving and passing by all these outlets and we're supplying them. Sales wise, yeah, if someone accidentally orders something from us, we will not say no, obviously, but I mean, we're not going to call up people and say, hey, would you like to buy this? So that is one of the differences in types of distributors. So differs also very much per country. So now this is the 2 steps forward, 1 step back principle. So sometimes you move very fast, that you are growing very fast with your brand, and you need to catch up. So sometimes, okay, I'm out of stock. It's a very good problem to have, but yeah, in essence, you can't grow without stock because you can't sell. You need to use your current sales as a reference for new stores, meaning also for budgeting and forecasting. Say, okay, what do I need to add in terms of production capacity? I've had issues with supply myself when I was launching a brand. So, okay, we have a lot of demand for a certain type of my product, but the company I was actually hiring to make it for me, they were out of stock and out of raw materials for a while. So they said that is, I didn't book the capacity because I didn't anticipate the growth. And in the peak season, I was completely out of stock. So that was one of the hard lessons you learn when you're small and you need to build something from zero. The second thing is think in geographic or channel exclusivity. So you basically have an issue with selling to everybody. So initially you will say, "Oh, I will not say no to anyone, and everybody can buy from me, and everybody can sell to anyone." If you do it like that, you are not making it interesting for distributors to carry your product. So if you have a lot of non-exclusive distributors, meaning like, okay, I'm selling to multiple companies in the same city, or you sell to the neighbor of someone who is actually selling your product. Yeah, how much will they sell? How much demand will they get? And is there any incentive for them to say, oh, hey, if I'm the exclusive distributor for this, I will actually put some resources of my own to push this. So there is a commitment from you to them. It's a bit like being married. So you need to have commitment to your wife or your husband. The same as your wife or your husband has the commitment to you. If it's non-exclusive, yeah, why would they have a commitment to you? So that is also the one thing that you need to keep in mind when you are appointing distributors. Um, so geographic meaning can be a city, can be a province, can be any area, can be a country as well. So in the end, that is a way to look at it. Or channel exclusivity, when you say, hey, you're a HoReCa specialist. Okay, do all the HoReCa and food service clients in this geographic area, for example. So that's one of the examples of thinking in geographic and channel exclusivity. Um, then you need to keep in mind, like I mentioned, that catching up with your own growth and success. So sometimes you are growing too fast. You need to plan ahead a bit with regards to, okay, when I hit this, I need to hire another salesman. When I hit this, I need to get maybe a bigger warehouse. Probably also working capital will be a constraint. So there are several sources where you can, for working capital, for example, you can have credit from the bank, you can take a loan, you can get an investor in. All these things are possible. Having invoice financing is also a very good one. That is a very short-term working capital solution. So issue is that also you need to have customers that are credit worthy. Of course, supermarkets will not be gone tomorrow, so therefore they're credit worthy. If you sell something to a supermarket, you can send the invoice to this invoice financing company. You get your money right away, so your working capital flows into there, minus a couple of percent for the invoice company, basically, and you can reinvest that money right away in new stock. So that is one of the solutions that makes your growth more easier, I guess. So a lot of companies that training companies are usually, the more they grow, the more working capital they need. So this is one of the real problems you will be facing. And if you're not facing it, that's either you're very rich, or you have a very rich family member, or you're growing very slow and you can still cope with it by financing it yourself. But I mean, normally when you have a brand and you launch it and there's some traction, it automatically becomes a problem to get the working capital financing in place. Anyone wants to know more about that, please let me know. You can leave a comment, or you can contact me through the website that I'm going to share with you in a moment. We have come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe. If not, then don't. And I hope to see you in the next video. And again, if you would like to contact me, my contact details are on the website, devriessalesconsultancy.com. Thank you.